Well, welcome back to the Brilliant Fishing Podcast. This is the Brilliant Fishing NC. I'm Jason Brilliant, your host. This is a podcast for fishermen by fishermen. And today I've got the privilege of being here with Mr. Terry Snyder of Operation North State. And so this is something we've been looking forward to doing for a little while. And so just to kind of kick things off today, Terry, tell us a little bit about who you are. Tell us about Operation North State, kind of what that is, and how you came to be involved with that.
Yeah, I'm a native of North Carolina. I grew up in Charlotte. My mom and dad were from Winston. In fact, out of college, I went back to Winston, so I've still got a big footprint up there. But I've been all over North Carolina. My corporate job took me all over the United States. But years ago, I had an investment, and it was a North Carolina product store. And what that means is we sold everything. We sold foods, artwork, books, anything that represented the state of North Carolina. In fact, it was the first North Carolina product store. It's called Kicks and Grins. I had one in Winston-Salem, one in Charlotte. The reason that's important is because, I loved our state. I traveled all over the country, and I just could not wait to get back home on Fridays. And my background, I played a lot of ball growing up. My dad and we quail hunted a lot.
Fun.
Yeah, I fished a lot. Dad, I don't think I ever saw my dad on the water.
Okay.
But he was a big quail hunter, raised English setters, raised birds.
Oh, fun.
And for all you guys fishing winter trails, the reason you're doing that is because you didn't have the luxury of hunting rabbits and hunting quail. But back when I was growing up, what was a winter trail? We didn't need it because, we hunted all the time.
Yeah, you had a lot. Yeah, well, it's quail hunting used to be good in this area.
It was good all over the state. If not, I go to Paisley, South Carolina, the watermelon fields. But anyway, I had that store, and then fast forward in a bigger way, there was a issue with the VA about in 2010, and I'd worked out that morning. I'd gone by the Krispy Kreme, and a couple of my buddies were sitting there in Krispy Kreme in Winston-Salem, and they were complaining about the VA this, the VA that. And I looked at them and said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, "We all shut up till we can do our part." That's how I started.
Okay.
And we could have had a conversation about kids or cancer.
Right.
It could have been something else, but
Sure.
that day we were talking about how tough things were for veterans, and that's where it came from.
Really?
And then from a standpoint of, I'm a big believer in everybody has capacity. I see somebody might, pouting a little bit because they can't participate in something. You can participate in everything. You can shake a hand. There are things you can do. You might not be as involved as some of the people in it.
Sure.
You can participate. So I had an interest in it. I hunted and fished. I actually grew up, being in Charlotte. I watched Lake Norman be flooded as a kid, 8 or 10 years old.
You're showing your age now.
Yeah, my dad and I quail hunted it.
Okay.
And pretty much Lake Norman at that time was known as Ramsey Creek.
Okay.
And if you got out of Ramsey Creek, you left Ramsey Creek, you went out to the main channel, you look over to the left, you see the dam. You go to the right, that was a river. That we did not give that Lake Norman credit at all. And then if you went all the way on across, we called that the west side, over Denver and everything. So that was back in the mid-'70s.
Okay.
And so I was a teenager.
Okay.
We didn't have all these depth fires. And how were you catching fish? Best way to catch a fish, find the kids that are working at the marinas. And I was one of those kids. And my best friend, his dad owned Joe's Marina in Ramsey Creek. We fished all the time. So all the guys that kept his boats out there, they'd come in. And the first thing they'd do is get out, get their boat packed up, and then they'd come to us. What y'all catch this week? Where'd you catch them this week? So I've had a passion about fishing for years and years and years. So that's kind of the background. That was the fishing side of it. And then the last thing about, since we were going to try to do something for the vets, it was all about putting a smile on their face. And my concept of doing that was, what put a smile on my face?
Fishing.
And it was back to fishing. It was back to hunting.
Such a good idea.
So that's kind of how it happened.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I think we get so much enjoyment out of fishing, and it is something that, like you said, everybody can participate in. And now there's some types of fishing, maybe is more user friendly than others, but it's something kids enjoy. It's something old people enjoy. It's great being outside. I mean, if you catch fish, that's just a bonus. But yeah,
and another thing I'll tie in to kind of round it out. Once we started and the point about capacity, with me having the North Carolina product store, I had 17 years of knowing the people, places, products, and pride of North Carolina. I have some contacts, so that was kind of my capacity, what I brought to it. And so, that made it a little bit easier for me, and so it just does tie right into, I don't care what you can do or what you think you can't do. There is something you can do to help put a smile on somebody's face.
Right, that's true. Well, great. So let's keep going with that idea. Talking about Operation North State and what it does. Now, obviously we've said it's about taking vets fishing.
Yeah.
But is it? I mean, it's really more than that, right? I mean, it's fishing. There's a lot of different opportunities.
Yeah. Let me take that two ways. Because first of all, what do we do? And it is from a fishing standpoint, and we call them fishing festivals.
Okay.
But I watched enough television, just like all of us have, and we're watching the trails and the weigh-ins and all that, and I knew the vets would enjoy that in a big way. So we try to use the concept of, we don't do a blast. I'll explain that in a minute. But I still get them in there in the morning. I get them on the boats, and then we take them out. We got snacks for them all day long. They fish. They probably fish to about 1:30, 2 o'clock. Then we come back in. We have a regular weigh-in, really nice weigh-in. And but things are a little bit different. I mean, typically when you're in that trail, you're going to be fishing for your bass, your crappie, whatever it is. These vets can't all. I mean, they're like from entry level to 101 to some guys are pretty good, and we might have a power fisherman. And so we got to meet those needs.
Right.
And so you got a need situation, and then maybe they want to catch that big bass or that big catfish, or they want to take fish home and have a fish fry.
Right.
And so you got to kind of put that in perspective too. But one of the that's just one of the biggest things is when we have that fishing festival, called a festival for a reason. You cannot. These guys get to know each other, and they fish with the guy that said, "My guy's pretty good. He's got good equipment." And by the way, that boat can be fast, so they enjoy that part of it. And so then the next thing you know, you hook that guy up with one of my better anglers, and they're a team, and they're going to want to fish together for years and years and years. Then you get the other people, and I've got to take a power fisherman and ask him to come back, dial it back, and just make sure this guy is safe. Safety's always number one.
Right.
But just see what he can do or can't do.
Right.
But you fish as hard as you can, because he's going to get jacked up, and he or she, they're going to get excited. They don't care who's catching the fish, but get it in the boat. So that's another thing we have to look at too.
Okay.
What can they do? The limitations they might have. You got to put safety into it, and then they get to know each other. And but it's back to that thing. It's a festival because it's fishing, it's fellowship, it's an opportunity to maybe get on a vessel with good equipment they wouldn't get to do otherwise. But that fellowship is so big. When you're fishing a trail, that is about points and trophy, and you got money and skin in the game. And what we have, you got these really good teams again, and you got guys that you don't know if they're going to catch you there or not. So in my opinion, that's not a fair fight. So why give trophies and money away? And I know to some of the host boaters, that's an issue. Man, I want my guy to get a trophy. Then you take him fishing, take him one-on-one.
Right.
And so that's what this has grown in. We've got fishing festivals, we got one-on-ones. Every year we're doing around 120 one-on-ones.
Oh, wow.
And I'm usually hearing about it at the end of the day. Somebody's putting pictures on Facebook, one of the host boaters, and we've got host boaters that take guys out 2 or 3 times a year, fishing one-on-one, plus they fish 2 or 3 fishing festivals with us. And we got guys, they do 20 one-on-ones a year.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's the fishing side of it. And then we've got other things. I mean, we've got cycling. We've got a monthly cycling. It's reoccurring. It's sustainable. We're going on 6 years with that.
Cool.
Get 35 people a week at Salem Lake up in Winston-Salem. Then we've got golf. We play golf all over the state.
Wow.
And then we go-karting down in Charlotte. And that not every vet can do.
Right.
But the ones that can do it, Spencer being one of them.
Oh, yeah.
They love it. They love it. And then this year we struck out. We try to take them snow tubing. So we go up to Hawks Nest.
Oh boy.
And you got to do that. I mean, it's incredible.
It's fun. Yeah, I've done the snow tubing, but
it's a great venue. Hawks Nest really does a great job. They take care of you.
Oh, cool.
And so that's kind of what we have.
Okay.
And then another thing from a host boater fishing standpoint, we've got guys and gals, maybe they can't handle that boat.
Right.
Just a little bit too much action or something like that. And so they want to dial it back to the point, maybe could we go to a farm pond? Or could we go? Right. So if I try to find a honey hole, we do some of that too. Some don't want to fish at all. But what they want to do, they want to cruise a lake.
Oh, they just like riding around, getting out.
And so we've got 2 lakes now where we call them cruise. We have a cruise. And we're very fortunate at High Rock. I mean, if you go there, the Piedmont Boat Club's been there since the 1950s. That club's raised 5 generations of families there. And so we're hosting one there every year. And so that's fellowship for about 20 people. They're getting hamburgers and hot dogs, and everybody's got a pontoon boat. So when you get 5 or 6 people, 5 or 6 people, you got more fellowship. And so I just say when you're thinking about what your capacity is as a host boater, we need that power guy. We need the person who can really, really dial it back. We need that person that says, man, Terry, I'm here to help you. I don't know how your pairings are going to be. Typically, we're right on the number. But I might have that one guy that says, if I don't have anybody, I'm okay with that. And then I'll have one of my volunteers go. We've only had 2 events in all of our fishing festivals where I've had to take one of my volunteers, or just one time I've had to say, I ain't got anybody for you. But we're fortunate with that. Because when we have a fishing festival, not only do we have the Wounded Warriors and Disabled Veterans, we actually have a waiting list. And I'll talk about the numbers a little bit later. So we've talked about the fishing, we've talked about the events, and then who do we take?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
We serve Wounded Warriors and Disabled Veterans. And let's use the fishing festival, for instance. On the day of a fishing festival, 80% of the Wounded Warriors and Disabled Veterans that show up are going to have disabilities 80 to 100%.
Okay.
And that you won't even really know it. I mean, and what makes that up is typically it's not one thing that gets them to their 100%. They might have traumatic brain, they might have PTSD, they might have some wounds somewhere, they've lost some sight, maybe they were exposed to Agent Orange or whatever. The other thing is the VA is only going to pay 100% on their disability. We've got vets that really classify out as 400 to 600% because they're 100% wounded, 100% PTSD.
Oh,
and
okay.
When you're on that water, they're on the boat. You just don't know
how that worked.
So when you see what we're doing that day,
right,
there's a lot behind the scenes we've already done.
It really is
to get to that point.
And that's neat. I mean, you think about the people that we're serving through doing this. They're wounded warriors.
Yeah.
And so these people wounded in combat, I assume, some sort of action for the most part.
Yeah, let me stop you right there because that's a really good point. That again.
Yeah, tell us about what that is because I'm not sure I 100% have it.
Yeah, that's really important because it gets back to who we serve from a standpoint of when you hear me talk about wounded warriors and disabled veterans. That was President Bush.
Okay.
When the towers went down.
Okay.
At 9/11, moving forward, those involved coming out of our military, I don't care where, but if they got injured or for some reason something happened to their body and they put a uniform on to serve for the United States of America, being a soldier, doesn't matter how they got that disability, and a lot of it is combat, but someone maybe got a disease or fell or a truck hit them.
Sure.
But they got hurt serving our country.
Okay.
If it happened after 9/11,
Okay.
they are a wounded warrior. But
Okay.
because that was kind of the new sexy term.
Okay.
But before that, they were disabled veterans.
Okay.
World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. If you
Okay.
came out of the you came out of the service and you were hurt, you were a disabled veteran. So when you hear me talk about that's
okay.
so I'm kind of honoring both of the eras.
Okay, I did not realize that. I'm glad you explained that because I didn't know.
A lot of people don't know it. And another thing, when the Wounded Warriors had a real issue, and I stayed away from them because they were suing people right and left, and if they didn't like it, you could not use their image, you could not use their name. I was just getting into it in 2010. I heard horror stories going on, so I just zipped.
Okay.
I said, I ain't saying that word. But they had some issues, but it was primary. It was everything I'm saying is public knowledge. They were up around 53, 55, close to 60% of overhead.
Okay.
You're not supposed to be at 15%.
Okay.
And so they were way over. They have really come in line. The other thing is the Wounded Warriors and Disabled Veterans we serve, a lot of them are in that program. And there they are, big and national and hundreds of millions of dollars. And here they are coming back to Operation North State because we've got some services they might not be able to do over there. So I have nothing against the Wounded Warrior Project. If they have a problem, the other thing is too, their pockets are pretty darn deep.
Okay.
We've got vets that are really, really having issues. They might need a ramp. They might need a house. They might need stuff. There's no way our budget can touch it.
Sure.
And the Wounded Warriors, they have really, really put some dollars into some of our vets. So
well, that's good.
There's a
Glad
lot
to
of
hear
organizations that we partner with, but from a terminology standpoint, I want people to understand that difference between Wounded Warriors and Disabled Veterans. And
Okay.
I think it's important.
Good. Well, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that the Operation North State, which is you and dozens of other people, are ministering to this demographic of people. Because, these are people who have sacrificed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And for us, to be able to enjoy the things that we enjoy.
Sure. Just think about, put this in the capacity standpoint. When we started this in 2010, we were just doing gift boxes because back to the point we have in the store, I had all the food contacts and stuff like that. We were sending boxes called the NC Cares Christmas boxes overseas. We were sending 1,500 every Christmas. And we had the who's who of of North Carolina giving us items to go in there.
Cool.
Then I had a buddy that approached me in 2013. He lived on Baden, and he just said, why don't we do something else? Tell me a little bit more about Operation North State. He knew what I was doing. We didn't know enough about it, so we got a fishing festival. Had it that day, had 50 at Circle Drive. I'm walking through the parking lot on the way home that day. We'd had a good day. It was safe. To me, number one, that's a great day. It was safe. So, and one of the guys tapped me on the back and said, Mr. Terry, I just want you to know, this is awesome. I've never been invited to anything. You think we could do some more? And that ties into what's going to happen May 20th at Randleman this year. We're going to host our 100th fishing festival. That
is cool. The 100th fishing festival.
Yeah,
100th fishing festival. That's a lot of fishing.
It is, and one of the comments we were just talking about, the capacity and people like fishing and can do this, can do that. We're just here in North Carolina as an Operation North State. Operation kind of being a military term. North State being one of our nicknames.
Yep.
What if South Carolina did it? What if Virginia did it? What if every state did it? I've talked to 2 states. I talked to Florida. I talked to Ohio. I said, I'll give you everything I got. I'll give you my whole blueprints, the whole 9 yards. And they got jacked up. They got excited. And then one day they said, well, by the way, what's a fair price to pay yourself? I said, What? I said, we're all volunteers. I said, we're all volunteers. Now, you can do that if you want to, because people do. I mean, you're allowed to do that. But we don't do that.
Right.
But if people would take our model and do the fishing and cycling and other stuff and get these vets out of the house, we do around $850,000 to $950,000 worth of recreational therapy a year. You do that times, I know some states are small, not a lot of population, but what if you just got 15 or 20 states doing it? Next thing you know, that's $25-30 million worth of recreational service. And there's already recreational service going on in other states and doing stuff, but we hit a sweet spot because the vets truly weren't getting these quality opportunities. And the quality opportunities don't happen because of Operation North State or me kind of driving the boat. It happens because of these host communities to where when we go in, everything we need, the food's there, the tasks are there. It's a big enough lake or wherever we are to where we should be able to get our 50 host boaters to make it happen. And so, again, it's back to that capacity thing.
Well, that kind of brings up something I was going to ask about with, this sounds like a big undertaking. And so what is it or who is it that really makes it successful? Because I know 100 events and, every event you're taking out multiple, guys fishing. I mean, who all does it take or what all does it take to sort of pull that off?
Let's go through a fishing festival, and because golfing's different than the others, be it the go-karting or the snow tubing. That's only about 20 guys. So the fishing festival is some of our biggest events. And a lot of times people say, well, God, they just had a trail out here this weekend. They had 160 boats. And we're going to be stopped at around 50. Maybe on the high end, the wildlife's going to let me do 65. So first of all, the ramps we're using, we're typically at one ramp because we want to keep the fellowship and all the safety there.
Sure.
And then it's all about parking spaces.
Okay.
And what you're looking to do from a special events kind of permits. We don't have any trouble getting there because we've got a great relationship with North Carolina Wildlife Association, but that's kind of what sets us. So so let's say that's 50 wounded warriors, 50 more boaters, 20 to 25 volunteers. So our days around 120 to 140 people.
Wow, that's a pretty.
And so anytime we have a fishing festival, that's the numbers we're talking about.
That's a lot of people.
Who makes it happen? We cannot have this without host boaters. We can't have it without a host community. And then from there, it's the volunteers, it's the supporters, and it's the believers. We provide a lot of services. And if it wasn't for supporters and believers, we couldn't do this because we don't host a single fundraiser. We get donations. And we're very fortunate that people see what we do, they see the impact and the difference we make.
Yeah.
And when people see that, they equate to wanting to be part of it. And so we're very fortunate we're able to take every minute of our day and apply it towards services. So that's kind of who helps us and, where the resources come from to make one happen.
Yeah, I could tell it took a lot of people. I mean, so I've only been to the one last fall at High Rock Lake, and that was really my first introduction to.
You're a good guy.
I did, man. I mean, the whole thing was good. I mean, I enjoyed it from the sausage biscuits right on down to the fishing, and I really like, and so just going into it, not knowing what to expect. You and I were just talking before we started recording, but I got there, and so as a host boater, my person wasn't there to pick up. So kind of at the end, they're matching everybody up. Who doesn't have a boat and who doesn't have a fisherman, and so anyway, I'm there, and so anyway, I got partnered up with this guy, and I didn't know from Adam, and anyway, it ended up being Spencer Manning. So I don't know, Spence, I don't know if you're watching this, buddy, but I didn't know him, and so we get out, we start fishing, and it became pretty apparent early on that this guy knows his stuff, and so we were long line trolling. I remember you had told me, said, probably long line trolling is a good thing because it's real easy and certainly is. And so if we get out there, it was just not happening. So Spencer says, he said, if it was me, he said, I'd be live scoping. I'd be sniping these fish out here in open water. I said, really? I said, well, here's the remote. Here's the trolling motor remote. Here's you a rod. And buddy, you seen that guy come into action. And I mean, he started, and he's casting and catching slabs, and he was just having a blast. And so I was just tickled just to watch him. Yeah, he had a good time, and but it was really a lot of fun. But anyway, everywhere from the breakfast and the fellowship, and then the day of fishing, which was great, and then at the end, I know at least at this event, we all went over to, there was a church that hosted a meal, and that was fantastic as well. It was just a well done event. And I couldn't say enough good about the people involved, because everything from organizing it to the the fellowship that we had at the boat ramp, and then the fishing, and then the meal after. I mean, it was definitely something that I could see me being a part of again. And so I don't know, Spence, if you're watching this, we've still got to go fishing on Lake Norman. I mean, you promised me a trip, and it's been on me now. I got to get it scheduled, but we got to get out.
He reminded me of that driving down here, so you owe him a call. But
that's it.
You really hit on something that I want these host boaters to know, because the host boaters are just awesome. I mean, we could not hold this without them in a big way. But folks, this isn't for everybody. I mean, you talked about the Spencers. There's probably 8 or 9 guys, but hats off to our host boater communities going back to 2013, because you have got these vets out of the house. Some of them have bought boats. 2 or 3 of them are fishing on trails. But this would have never happened if it wouldn't have been due to a fishing festival where they befriended and they got excited about it in a big way. It's now a lifestyle. A lot of these vets don't have family. Their family is, they're finally getting out of the house. They're a little bit comfortable with Joe and Jane Public, and they usually have a dog. I mean, that's their love. They might have a mom that checks in on them. We have a lot of vets that fall in that category. And then we have others that, I mean, it's not. We had one thing that happened one time. We were at a Charlotte Knights a baseball game, and a guy tapped me on the shoulder, a little kid. I was walking to the concession stand to get a vet something, and a kid tapped me on the back. He said, "Mr. Terry, I just want to thank you for giving me my dad back." Man, it happened to do these fishing festivals.
Yeah.
And so back to your point about the Spencer, and back to the point about this isn't for everybody. I'm not hard on them, but I'm a little tough, because number one is safety. And don't start playing with wanting to come and you're not signed up with the safety and what we're expecting out of you from a safety standpoint. So I'm pretty tough on that. But because of that, our numbers have grown. In 2013, when we started this, we got 50 vets for the first one. The next one was Lake Norman. People heard about it, so we were up to about 80. We're up to 470 wounded warriors, disabled veterans in North Carolina right now.
That is a lot.
91 of them, 191 of them right now are what we have available. Because those other guys, it's not that they don't want to do it, but they do. We do have some say, no, those rules aren't for me. I might want to smoke a joint or something. I said, no, you can smoke all the joints you want. You just don't do them at a fishing festival.
Right.
Or you got something else. And so our rules are, to me, it's all about safety. The reason I know that works, we've got vets that are coming that the wives are letting them come because they trust our event.
That's awesome.
And so to the host boaters that are out there, so much of what we've been able to accomplish is because the trust they have in the services we're providing. And then that's me asking the community, asking the host boaters. But then I have to maybe come back to that power fisherman and ask him, if you don't mind, just kind of whatever this guy wants to do today is kind of what you need to do. So that's kind of who we have on the water. The last thing I'll mention about that, we're seeing some more organizations want to get the vets on the water.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things about that, nobody's got the Wounded Warriors and Disabled Veterans that have
Mm-hmm.
agreed to our rules.
Mm-hmm.
Those 470 I mentioned, only 191s agreed to the rules.
Okay.
And then they might have an issue one day,
Okay.
and nobody goes to the doctor as much as these guys and gals do.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get signed
Right.
up. They'll get signed up and everything. Next thing I know, they start falling out. So I've got to have
an
a waiting
appointment
list
or
of about
this and that.
15. And so all that works really, really
That's
good.
a good idea.
But their needs are different. Somebody will say, "Oh, we're going to take," and let's say
Mm-hmm.
they want to do veterans. They find out real quick it's not real easy to get Wounded Warriors or Disabled Veterans. So they do first responders,
Mm-hmm.
and then they do active military, and then they do veterans, Wounded Warriors and Disabled Veterans.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great thing. That's a great thing. A lot of people are getting on the water that way. The only thing that's different, the needs are different. The needs of those Wounded Warriors and Disabled Veterans are so different than the guys down here
Gotcha.
who are active military and first responders. So
Right.
a lot of people might not know that,
Okay.
but that is the fact, and that's why I drive it so hard, because everything we do from a safety aspect,
Okay.
I'm going to make sure we take care of those guys.
Well, I noticed, going into it, I mean, from a host boater perspective, I didn't think that the safety aspect of it was like overdone in any way. Like it wasn't difficult to accommodate because, like, as I recall, it was okay. Everybody wears a life jacket, no booze or drugs.
Exactly.
And
Isn't that common sense?
And that's pretty much like that's a normal day on my boat.
You're exactly
You know,
right. That's
so,
common
yeah.
sense. That's common sense.
Um,
And as a host boater, I mean, you do whatever the North Carolina laws require you to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the common sense thing to do
Mm-hmm.
is that Wounded Warrior and Disabled Veteran, as soon as he walks down that ramp, that jacket does not come off. Now, was it a transition period? Because I didn't start that till the second year. But when I started it, I felt so much better. I slept better. Their loved ones were better about it. And eventually the vets got fine. It's been working. Every time you see a picture of them on the water now, they got it on. They're happy with it.
Right.
I think it takes some pressure. I think it takes some pressure off the host boaters. And
Well, it really
everything.
does. I mean, you think about as a host boater, like you get somebody, and let's just say they can swim. Let's just say they're not disabled enough that they couldn't swim. You think about getting them back in the boat, like by yourself, maybe.
Yeah.
That's not a position that I'd want to be in. I would not want to pick somebody up out of the water, and try to get them back in. That'd be.
Have you fished with us enough to have you met Maytag yet?
I don't think so.
Y'all know Maytag. It was our second event we ever had. We were at Lake Norman. It was cold. And see, that's another thing about this, too. We do some pretty cold, and they got rain suits on.
Right.
So that's another issue. But anyway, they were getting on the boat. They hadn't been gone long. All of a sudden, the guy brings Maytag back in, who I barely knew him. I mean, great guy, though. We all love Maytag. But what happened was Maytag dropped his rod and went over to get it.
Mm-hmm.
He fell in the water.
Okay.
The host boater, he was gone 8 seconds. The Mustang brought him back.
Ooh.
Totally gone. It imploded, and he came back up.
Wow.
That was the second event we ever had.
Mm.
And so we got him warmed up, got him back in the truck. He said he wasn't scared. Black man, he's white. I mean, it's
Really?
scary. Oh, yeah.
Scared him
It was
pale,
scary.
huh?
It was scary for all of us. But that's dinner kind of got him warming up, and he said he's going to fish some more. That didn't happen. But he stayed in the truck. We kept him warm, got him in some dry clothes. And at dinner, I told everybody what happened to him. And I said, yeah, one of the guys got in the water. I didn't tell him how bad it was, but eventually the word got out. But I got him in. I talked about it, what happened. And I said, yeah, we had to dry him out. That guy was soaked. And so we've been calling him Maytag ever since because we had to dry him out. And he doesn't know this yet, but after 10 years,
I was going to ask why they called him.
He stayed on above the water. I think I'm actually going to take the name away.
Oh, that's a pretty good name.
And I did have another guy get in the water one time. And I called him Maytag 2. He went home with his tail between his legs. He didn't like being called Maytag.
I was wondering why you called him Maytag. I was thinking, was he built like a washing machine?
Yeah, had to dry him out.
Okay, all right. Well, oh sakes, I imagine that would have been a sight.
We're just glad we're glad he's okay. And the guy was the senior vice president, the host boater. And I hadn't talked to him in years, but he couldn't fish for 2 years.
Wow.
I don't blame him. I can't imagine what I'd have done in that situation.
Man,
but
it's been rough. Well, back to the host boating for a minute. Having been a host boater once, I think I was a little apprehensive coming in, just wondering, like, can I do this? Is this something that is this for me? And I feel like having done it once, I would be very apt to do it again. But for people out there that may be watching that, they're just kind of on the fence, is this something that maybe I could do or not do? Like, what are you looking for in a host boater?
Yeah.
Like, what's a host boater, like as far as their comfort level with veterans or their skill level as a fisherman or, that kind of thing? What do they need to be successful?
Really good thing. Remember we talked a minute ago about the terminology of wounded warrior and the disabled veterans. The other thing is too, every one of us in all walks of life, we need to know our veterans. Not every veteran is perfect. Some are incredible people. And I kind of use the analogy of the folks at work, in my family, at home. I kind of use whether it's 10%, 80, or 20, 60. I look at percentages. And from a veteran standpoint, you've got like 20% that are just stellar people, could lead anything. They probably were leaders in the military. They can lead families. They can lead businesses. Then you got the masses, and that's your other 60%. And then you got the 20% down here. And I don't think we're anywhere near, and I don't say these are problem individuals. I'm just saying you got to watch their needs. Their needs are a lot different. So if you come out and you spend time with us, just understand not everybody's going to be a great angler. But the one thing, every one of them tells me, I love fishing.
Okay.
And then you're going to say, Terry, you said my guy loved fishing. I didn't say he could fish. I said he loved fishing. And that
describes a lot of us.
That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. I kind of know who those power guys are, and I know my vets that want to be on the power boat. And then I got my 2 or 3 guys that I know I can count on. And then you got guys that they just can't bass fish. I mean, they can't stand all day long. They can't cast all day long.
Right.
Then you got the guys that want to crappie fish. You got the guys that want to catfish, want to striper fish. And then you got the vets that they don't even know what kind of fishing they want to do. But I know what I want them to do. Sure. I want them sitting over a pile of fish. Put them over a pile of perch, over brim. And that way, when the day's over, everybody should had a good time because I kind of know what they were looking for.
Right.
So keep that in mind. And the last thing I would say about what you need, you're going to provide a life jacket. If you don't have one, you got the big orange box, or a rectangle, don't worry about it. I'll keep about 12 more. I don't have Mustangs, but they're nice.
Life jackets.
Yeah, and so that's another thing the host boater is going to provide. And then rod and reels.
Okay.
Just do a spinning reel. Combo doesn't have to be the best thing. Probably, and I have some. I mean, I keep some up under there. Even the point I've got. I mean, we've had a lot of equipment from the host boaters donated to us over the years, so we've got some really good rods. But some of them can't even do a spinning rod. So we've got a really good relationship with Bass Pro. Got all kind of zip codes. So here you got a caching rod. I got a zip code on it. But it's what it takes for that vet to go fishing. And so I want you to bring your own combos. I want you to bring the tackle and everything because they need to be throwing what you both want to catch fish, want to have good experience. But if you don't have it, I've got the life jacket. I got some extra rod and reels. And then from a standpoint of snacks and waters, we have those for you to take out. A lot of the vets, like I said, we've been doing this 98 times. And so I kind of see some of them will bring their own snacks and stuff like that. And then the other thing is just don't forget the thing about the fellowship. I know a lot of the host boaters, we just do the best we can. They get there, and we're honored that they're there. But the dinners, as you witnessed, they're incredible.
They're a lot. It was great.
Incredible to me. The food might be bad, but the fellowship is needed in their lives.
Right.
It is so needed. But no, back to the point about the food, it's always great.
It is.
We don't ever have a dime in it. I mean, everything you see there, a typical fishing festival, to where you've got 50 boats. I mean, even on the low end right now, a guided trip's probably $400 a day. So you take that times 50 boats, then you add all the foods to it and the golf carts and everything you need, the tents and everything. It ends up being around for like Lake Norman coming up next week. That ends up being like a $48,000 day. We'll have $3,000 in it.
Right.
And that's the importance of the host boaters and what they bring. And the rest of that on the task and on the foods come from that host community. The fire department, police department, sheriff's department, rec department, churches, neighborhoods, what they provide. So, that's kind of what we need. Hopefully the host boaters understand. And the one thing I think is kind of cool, when we're on a lake, they're going to have a fishing license, but the North Carolina Wildlife waives it for all of our events. So
that's awesome.
So they got their fishing license. But the thing I wanted to tell you, back to the thing about they love to fish, I think I asked them the other day, we had 191 that agreed to the rules. 170 of them have lifetime memberships, fishing license.
Oh, lifetime license.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
So that's back to the point. They might not be able to fish, but they love it because they got their license.
Right. That describes me sometimes. I got my license. I'm not just. I think that's true with a lot of people in their driver's license as well. But well, I would just say, again, from the host boater, like, what does it take? What's it require? I mean, of course, the boat, the life jackets, some equipment, some know-how and skill. You don't have to be a fishing genius to do it, but paying attention to your people. Now, obviously, I had an easy experience with my guy. Spence was very proficient angler and so forth. But I would say just taking people out fishing, you always want to pay attention to them, like. Especially because a lot of these guys have got health related issues. So some of them are diabetic. Some of them. Have trouble getting on and off the boat, or just watching, as they're loading and unloading, you're making sure they've got plenty of water, making sure they got something to eat. Some of them diabetic, make sure that is
a big issue.
Make sure they're not sugar's not getting low, or something like that. So just checking on them and being observant, I think, is probably helpful.
And the other thing we try to do, I don't think we're in a single town where we don't have a fire department that doesn't come out there and stay with us. They usually even bring a boat. They come out, kind of act as our snack boat. And then Operation North State, I keep an AED there, so we have that. And one of the other things I mentioned, I mean, we've been doing this for so long. It's very, very unfortunate, but we lost a host boater. 47 to 50 miles out. We were out on the Carolina Princess, and as a Vietnam guy, about 78 years old, loved fishing. A lot of these 70-year-old Vietnam guys, they love that headboat. And so we were out there. He just caught a red snapper, which they got to throw back.
All right.
But he caught one. It wore him out, and the guy he was with, we were all congratulating for what he caught. But the guy he was with said he complained a little bit about he was tired, and we said, well, go sit down. And we saw him sit down on the side of the boat. Then he started walking into the galley. When he walked in, he fell out, and a team of about 8 of us, we worked on him for 53 minutes, and we knew he was gone, but it's sad. But what came out of that is back to this thing about the safety, and a lot of you see where we're asking you to maybe fish with us, one-on-ones, come to the cycling, come to the kickoff dinner.
Yeah.
But the other thing we put in place, and I appreciate Bass Pro helping us with this, but Bass lets us have their training room on the second floor,
Okay.
down at the camo section, and 3 times a year we host first aid classes.
Awesome.
And so I don't care what your walk of life is, with your family, at church, or walking, or wherever, you just can't get enough first aid. So we're offering that 3 times a year.
That's awesome. Well, that's good. I mean, yeah, I think none of us want a tragedy like that to happen. We're on the water, but the more that we can be prepared to try to help in that time of need is important. And you know, I don't think any of us want to pass on, you know, today. But if you're fishing, I mean, that may not be the worst. Might not be the worst way to go.
Yeah, exactly.
But
his wife, I mean, I went and spoke with their church and everything.
wow.
His daughter told me, said, "Man, did my dad, you know, unfortunately we lost him, but he was doing what he wanted to do."
Doing what he wanted to do, yeah. Yep. Well, that's good. And he got the opportunity to do that. And I think, you know, some of these vets, you know, and other people too, I mean, we just don't know, you know, you don't know when your time's up. And to be able to get out and just to have a good time, enjoy the outdoors, enjoy fishing, enjoy the fellowship, I mean, that's what it's all about.
And I want the host boaters to, I mean, they see my messages, and all I'm doing is, when I think it's very important that, number one, I have an ask to make of you, and that is whether to come out, participate, be a host boater. But I also, I try to, every time a vet tells me that, please tell my host boater how much I enjoyed it, what this meant. And I hope y'all are taking me serious when I tell you that, because that's coming directly from those veterans. And it truly is life-changing, and collectively, we are changing lives, something we should all be proud of.
That's great. Well, I'm glad to have been a part of one. I'm looking forward to doing another one, and I think it's something really cool. A lot of you out there watching, you know, you're watching or listening to this, as the case may be, because you like to fish. A lot of you are boaters. If you listen to Terry kind of talk today and you're thinking, hey, maybe that's something that I could do, we'll be glad to put you in touch with Terry. I have his information. I'll link it in the description down below. And if being a host boater would be kind of in your comfort zone, something you could see yourself doing, definitely reach out to Terry, reach out to me, you know, be glad to point you in the right direction for that.
And to that point, let me send you to 2 or 3 places, and it will really, really tie everything we've talked about today. We're active on Facebook, but we're very active in the photo albums. If you go to the photo albums, you're going to see photo albums all the way back to the first one at Baden Lake in 2013. So look at those smiles. And anytime you see the name tag, those of you that are fish with us know, but you know, we all go to events, and you can go to that same event for 10 years. And if you don't put a name tag on, you're going to be calling that guy, hey you, for 10 years. So we use name tags. And when you see a white name tag, that could be a veteran, but the vet doesn't have a disability. But it could be a Joe or Jane Public, but it's everybody else wears a white name tag. The wounded warriors, disabled veterans, they wear a red name tag. So when you're going through those photo albums, look for those red name tags, look for the smiles on those faces, and look at the difference we're making. So that's at Operation North State. The other photo album that you need to go to, and I change it every year, it's called 2025 Important Documents. And that's where you can go, and you'll see the rules that they agree to. You'll see what they have to give me to get into our program. And then you're going to see an overview, 1-pager of Operation North State. And then I think you're going to see the rules that we talked about, the requirements of the host boaters. So keep that in mind if you want to forward that to somebody to help them understand Operation North State a little bit better.
Yep. Well, I know we're about to wrap up our time here together today, and it's been a lot of fun doing this. I do want to just kind of throw this out. As I recall, I was looking at the Facebook page, I think the other day, or maybe it was the email. I believe as we're recording this, and so what's today, about April 10th, we've got a couple of events coming up fairly local to here. There's a Baden Lake event.
Lake North, okay, I'll do them real
Norman
quick for you.
and Baden, right?
Yeah, do them real quick for you.
Okay.
What we've got is next Thursday, the 17th, is at Lake Norman out of Pinnacle. and we were really needing the boaters, but we're only needing 3 boats right now. So that'll get us up to 50. But back years ago, before COVID hit, I mean, we were getting 65. And so then the next one we have is the following Thursday, and that is going to be April 24th. That'll be at Baden. And I'll tell you, both of those have been incredible bites every year we've had them. And then our 100th one, and all these are on lakes, and that will be at Randleman on May 20th. And dinner that day will be at Richard Petty's house. So
nice.
As long as we don't get rain, we're going to eat down at Richard's house, which we've done 2 or 3 times already.
Sounds like fun.
And but as a backup plan, because I mean he's got some nice grass. We don't need to be getting boats and trucks on his grass. But if it rains, I've got the community center. But if not, we'll be eating down at Richard's house.
Awesome. Sounds like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Well, Terry, it's been a pleasure having you in today. Is there anything that maybe I haven't set you up to talk about that you want to cover today? Or you think?
No. But I just appreciate the opportunity, and more important to those cameras out there. I know y'all hear from me a lot, but I don't really get hung up on the founder thing, or I don't use the title CEO, but I refer to myself as the chief asking officer, because I'm asking all the time. So to all of you, anytime you can help us, whether a host boater, one-on-one, provide some gear you don't need anymore. So thanks to the host boaters and the rest of you for helping us out.
Well, and I appreciate that. I mean, because I know you're asking a lot, but it's not for you, right? Exactly. You're asking for these veterans, and we want to do for them everything that we can do for them. So
good. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate it. It's good to have you in today. And,
thanks, buddy.
Again, we'll link Terry's information down below. If you're listening to us on the audio version, just look at the description. We'll be glad to point you in Terry's direction with those Operation North State Facebook link and so forth there. Again, appreciate you watching Brilliant Fishing NC, and we're going to let you go. We'll catch you on the next one.